All right, folks, Wednesday, December 9th, 2020. Hope you guys are wearing the mask right now, patiently awaiting the vaccine that's going to give us all our freedoms back. It's going to give us all our freedoms that we need in these difficult times. We're all in this together, staying safe. Hanukkah begins tomorrow at sundown, so I don't want any of you guys getting any ideas about how you can just gather in big groups to light that first candle on the menorah and dance the hora when there is a pandemic going on and people are dying. The town growing up, my town growing up was like 90% white and 10% Jewish. And so during the Christmas celebrations, the holiday celebrations at school, the first, third, and fifth graders would sing Christmas songs. And the second, fourth, and sixth graders would sing Hanukkah songs. So that way the Jews were proportionally represented accurately. So I know a few Hanukkah songs, and I'm gonna belt out my favorite one here because it's the season for Hanukkah. I'm gonna turn away from the mic so I don't hurt your ears. Every day for 8 days children will play, and while they are playing, the candles of Hanukkah glow, shining so brightly, reminding us nightly of wonders of days long ago. Yeah. So, speaking of the vaccine, I got some big news for my town. The town I live in, we are having a brand new CVS in town that is opening up. It has opened up. Yesterday, I think, was the first day, and it's really exciting stuff because for a long time, I was passing that construction site thinking, it would be really cool to have something like a community center where there's pool tables and ping pong tables and vocational classes, maybe like some knitting classes, or like teach people skills and stuff, give people like a place for fellowship and community. Maybe it's a good site for an Orthodox church, maybe, or a cool used bookstore, or even like an arcade with NBA Jam, Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter 2, that kind of stuff, or maybe just like a mom and pop diner. But when I found out it was going to be a CVS, I was like, man, this is going to be sweet. This is exactly what the community needs, another pharmacy. I mean, this is a town with 14,000 people, and there are already 13 pharmacies in town. So why not a brand new, exciting CVS pharmacy? So that's an even 1,000 people for every pharmacy in town, which probably tells you a lot about the residents here, that we like to party. Just gonna give you a little tour of this exciting new CVS that's open now, and it's got a health hub. And I'm pretty sure, guys, this is where it is. This is where it's going to be, where I'm going to get the vaccine. Whether it's the Pfizer, the Moderna, the AstraZeneca, whatever it is. Maybe I'll get all three, but I'm going to get all three at this new CVS that just opened up, and it's got a health hub. Really cool news. So just going to kind of go casual with this one, since YouTube hasn't given me permission to live stream yet, even though I passed the 1,000 sub mark, which by the way is great to see, and thank you guys really for your support. And the comment sections are always one of the most based comment sections on YouTube. A little demographic information for you here if you're interested. It's kind of surprising. 3.4% of the audience is female. So there's at least 32 women who tune in to this channel. More demos, 14% are Zoomers. There's about 80% between millennials and Xers, and about 3% Boomers. Geographic breakdown: 64% freedom-loving Americans, 6% bongs, 5% leafs. Got a few Aussies and Krauts in here, some Swedes, some Dutchmen. Like to see the racial demographics here, but YouTube does not provide that information. So if you're a BIPOC and you're with us, if you're a subscriber, if you're a BIPOC subscriber, give us a holler in the comments. Tell us what it is like to be such a based BIPOC that you found your way to this channel. And I have a tick on me, which is weird because this is December and I didn't know ticks would still be around in December, but this is a little one and I'm squeezing his head off right now and throwing his remains, scattering his remains on the carpet. Those aren't the ones that give you Lyme disease, I don't think. The ones that give you Lyme disease are the bigger ones, right? It's a genus of ticks that carry Lyme disease. Is Lyme disease even real? It kind of seems like fibromyalgia, right? It's the only ones I ever seen complaining of fibromyalgia or Lyme disease. It's like middle-aged, obese women who seem to use it mostly as like a convenience excuse, like, oh, I'm sorry, I was late to work today. It's been my fibromyalgia acting up. Just having a hard time losing those extra 7,500 pounds because of my fibromyalgia. It's been acting up. So, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe fibromyalgia is real. Maybe Lyme disease is totally real. If you guys have any personal experience, I'm not bagging on any Lyme disease affected people here, especially a BIPOC who is afflicted with Lyme disease. So anybody who has any information, personal experience with Lyme disease or fibromyalgia, maybe you could just leave a comment in the comment section. So now that I'm done cooking, you won't have to hear that noise in the background. It was probably really annoying there for a long time, but all that's done now and we're ready to rock. So this video that I will link in the description is by a well-known MWGTOW content creator. He's a MWGTOW, he's a man going his own way. His name is Stardust, and I've enjoyed Stardust videos in the past. I respect his perspective on a lot of issues, so this is by no means meant to be a scathing rebuttal. It's not meant to start any mess with any MWGTOWs. It's not meant to be an epic MWGTOW BTFO moment, but I just thought it might be interesting to point out some of the issues that he raises in the video. It's called The Ship Has Sailed, and I'll link it in the description. So it starts out with Stardust proclaiming that the left has won the culture war, and that anybody who's been paying attention knows that. And he wants to discuss how we got to this point, which is essentially that the left is more proactive and tech-friendly and has always been better at controlling the narrative, especially through social media, which is now dominated by the left. Not only that, but as he states, the right has failed to create platforms, and due to their lack of interest and their detachment from the public conversation, they don't care about creating a bulwark against the leftist tide. That the right is hampered by the fact that they're for preserving, not for pushing boundaries like the left has. And this, according to Stardust, is why the left has won the culture war. You know, just like how hard times reveal a lot about a person's character, you can tell a lot about the strength of a given philosophical discipline during times of social unrest. I've never been a MGTOW guy. I think about MGTOW a lot about how I think about conservatives, that they've got some good, valid points, but ultimately they fail to realize a lot of the most essential truths regarding human nature. And when times get tough and pressure is applied to these philosophies, the cracks in the facades reveal their weaknesses. So in the case of MGTOW, of course, I agree that hypergamy in the modern world is out of control and that feminism and gynocentrism have created a really bad scene for men looking to pair bond with a woman for the purposes of marriage and starting a family. There's a huge power imbalance, of course, between men and women that creates a lot of landmines for men, so it's understandable why they would be hesitant to even pursue romantic relationships in the first place, and even more so to enter into the contract of marriage with a modern woman. I don't want to belabor this at all, but the same thing with conservatism. I mean, a lot of good ideas that I'm sure most of us would agree with, but considering the ways in which the world has changed, especially within the past year, the ideologies, the orientations philosophically both are found lacking. It's because MGTOW and conservatism are like cozy era ideologies, comfy times ideologies. And as our level of certainty and cultural comfort diminishes with each passing day, these kinds of ideologies become less and less relevant. And that's why you don't hear a lot about MGTOW anymore, because there's more pressing existential issues going on. And so first of all, to state that the left has won the culture war, that's just as inane as saying, well, modern women are just all hypergamous cheating whores, so I'm just gonna travel and spend my days acquiring consumer goods and assets. The left has not won the culture war at all, and any evidence that they are winning is largely due to the illusion created by mainstream media, social media, that the radical leftist mob is more powerful than they really are. China! Of course, the left has always been better at controlling the narrative and controlling the media since the 1960s, and we all know what happened then, and who wrested control of the media. And in the video, Stardust even mentioned Saul Alinsky. And I mean, there were thousands of Alinsky disciples occupying and still occupying today choke point positions for the purposes of Frankfurt School subversion in education, Hollywood, porn, music, television, HR departments, family courts, soft sciences, anthropology, marketing, advertising, public relations. I mean, for 60 years, they've been controlling the media, and social media is no different. It's not because the right is detached from the conversation or disinterested. It's not because the right, people on the right don't care. It's because for more than a half a century, this has been a rigged game. And if anybody ought to know about rigged games, it should be MGTOWs. I mean, they're always discussing how rigged the family court system is in favor of women. They're always talking about how gynocentrism and dating apps have so corrupted the modern woman that the dating market is a sucker's game. You would think they would ask about why this has been the reality for so long. Why such institutions have been subverted to this extent, and who exactly it is that's responsible. But no, it's just because the left has used the media to capitalize on their ability to push boundaries, and they're just better at using technology. I mean, in the course of this entire 10-minute video, he says absolutely nothing about how anything on legacy media or social media to the right of Lenin is silenced, suppressed, censored, deplatformed, demonetized, and how anyone who espouses such ideas is labeled a Nazi or a white supremacist or an anti-Semite, whatever it is, and they're harassed and doxxed, and at times they lose their livelihoods because their opinions are now in this inverted reality considered radical hate speech that necessarily leads to violence. I mean, at no point does he mention that for decades now these communist lunatic ideologues have been in our institutions, brainwashing our kids to hate themselves because of the perceived sins of their ancestors, and into believing that they are perpetually privileged and fragile and part of an oppressor class responsible for all the world's ills with no way to atone. Again, you'd think they'd know this being MGTOWs, and they're aware of how feminists have thrown around the label toxic masculinity. But again, they never ask why this is the case, nor who is responsible, even though it's all part of the same system. It's true that the left is always pushing harder, and that the right, especially conservatives have done just very little to nothing about conserving anything of value. But again, why is this? It's not that they, quote, just don't care, or that they're, quote unquote, detached from the conversation. It's because subversive rot has rendered the right in general powerless through innumerable ways. From dual citizenship to congressional loyalty oaths to a certain foreign ally, you might say our greatest ally, and through pushing paid rhino globalist shills masquerading as puppets, populist puppets and nationalists. There's so many ways in which the right has been subverted and weakened. In the comments section of the video, there's a bunch of big brain centrism that you might expect from consumers of MGTOW content. I'm not saying that Stardust himself is like this, but the top comment on the video is this guy who says that, quote, the left and right paradigm has served the oligarchy well, unquote, which, it doesn't really tell the whole truth. It's pretty much, it's kind of nonsense, right? The two-party system, the red team versus the blue team game, that served the oligarchs well, but the battle between left and right is an old battle. It's the battle between nihilism and faith, globalism and nationalism, chaos and order, meaninglessness versus purpose, ugliness versus beauty, and more and more obvious that it's evil versus good. So no, the left has not won the culture war at all. The culture war continues. And we have examples in history where the left has gone so far that the inevitable pushback, the equal and opposite reaction, is only a shot away. We're standing at that turning point right now. So if the war was already over and the victor was already declared, then the constant propaganda pump, the acceleration of the propaganda would be completely wasteful and unnecessary. They have to work so hard every single day, convincing people from birth, using every means at their disposal, to get people to become so demoralized that they fall for leftist fairy tales like the notion of an oppressive white supremacist society wherein white people are so oppressive they won't even let themselves organize an advocacy of their own rights as a people. And again, these are patterns that MGTOW should recognize. This is exactly like the argument MGTOWs are always talking about. Despite modern society's constant catering to women's every whim, they can still tell you with a straight face that we're living in a patriarchy. You'd think that they would realize this by now, and that all of these patterns are part of the same subversive pseudo-reality. everything that they decry about the power imbalance in male and female relationships is only possible in a society where that same imbalance of power exists in the relationship between the left and right. It's all part of the same twisted system. You think that the same red pill that MGTOW swallowed to get to their truths raised by that ideology would be the exact same red pill that would lead them to believe that there's a lot of truth in what the dissonant right is saying. The left, no, they have nothing in the way of arguments, so they take every opportunity to censor and silence us. Instead of facts and logic, they resort to emotional shrieking and violently acting out to get their way. Again, similarities here with the way MGTOWs often bemoan manipulative, gaslighting modern female behavior. I mean, even with nearly every aspect of modern life set against the right, nearly every university, every media outlet, every NGO, every foreign Fortune 100 global corporation, even with all that is set against us, they still have to use paid agitators, propagandist shills, bots, hoaxes, false flags, internet influencers, lifetime actors, politicians working non-stop just to breathe life into their lies and deceit. And despite all these efforts, despite all the machinations geared toward their benefit, they still lose more and more people to our side every day. So no, the left has not won the culture war. My man Johnny had a good point here. He says, an even greater peril to the left is their arrogance and their detachment from reality. Modern leftism is momentum from the past by people who spent all their lives studying us in total silence. All they did was leverage technological industrial trends and ham-fist their policies through institutions. That's it. As we increase our knowledge of them and train our own and reach out to new recruits, our knowledge advantage makes us more selective than them. Leftism only wins to the extent that its victims are asleep. That means whoever is able to make it out alive from leftism are going to be selected for certain traits. Very good point. So that's all I got. Hope you guys are doing well, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.